This is Reality Dispatch, written by Jim Mintz.
The Imagination of David Tedesco. I knew it was late, but I didn't know how late. Something woke me up. My eyes just opened. I don't know why. I went downstairs and called out to Mom and Dad. I thought maybe they might be awake. I didn't know what day it was. Usually I wake up and grab my iPad and play Roblox or Minecraft, but I couldn't find it anywhere, and I was too scared to look. But I wasn't really scared. I was walking around the dark and quiet house all by myself without being scared. I could see myself doing it, but I wasn't in charge. Someone else was in control of me. They led me out the front door and down the road. I was walking barefoot on the road, still in my pajamas. "It's not far," the voice said. I could see that I was walking towards the national park. Its trees line up against the view of my bedroom. I sometimes like to pretend it's a big asteroid field and that I am the captain piloting my spaceship right through the middle of them, like Han Solo in The Empire Strikes Back. Just a little further. I was feeling cold, but I wasn't in control, as I said, so I just kept walking. Then David blinks his 8-year-old eyes and faces his mother. She watches him with a confused look. "What?" she asks. She is desperate. Her son is the only one that returned, but also the only one with answers. I woke up, right there on the street, as the sun started to poke up over the hill. The warm glow made me shake away whatever it was that was making me walk. He was sleepwalking, his father suggests. Yeah, maybe I was. I don't know. His mother starts to cry. But I came back as soon as I realized I could. I promise I didn't do it on purpose. I never would have gone outside without permission. Honest. I just couldn't. Control yourself? His father suggests. His father pats him on the head and holds him by the neck. He swivels his hand to cup his neck and places his 8-year-old head into his armpit for a tight embrace. He tells him everything is going to be okay. His mother continues to cry. Did Robbie come home? Did Angelo come home? Will they be at school tomorrow? Can I go to school tomorrow? Do I have to talk to the police again? Detective Ballard is at the school again. He is using the principal's office to conduct interviews with students who may have some involvement in the disappearance of Robert Moncrief and Angelo Badalamento. His first interview is with David Tedesco. It takes place in the first period of the morning, just as David was about to embark on his first lesson since the night in question. It's raining. David is still wearing his yellow raincoat. He hasn't removed it since the school drop-off. His parents won't let him take the bus anymore. "Come and sit with me, David," the detective requests. David complies. "David, I know you're sick of talking with me, but you and I both know that Robbie and Angelo's mummy and daddy will not be happy until there is some news about their sons. Don't you agree?" David nods. His eyes are fixed on a loose thread on the carpeted floor. He sits on his hands, slouched. "So once more, I'm going to ask you some questions that I know you are very sick of answering. Did you or Robbie or Angelo say or do anything the day before the night you all went sleepwalking?" "Like what?" David cuts him off. The first sign of a pulse he has given. The detective is caught off guard. His suspicion is immediate. Like, say for instance, there was some sort of YouTube prank that you were all made aware of. Where, now I'm just guessing here. That's where I need your help, David. Where you all challenge each other to go for a midnight stroll down your street and meet up for, let's say, shits and giggles. Now, excuse me for the language. David tenses up in anger. His frustration is barely held at bay. "I already told you 1,000 times, he yelled. "So tell me 1,001, the detective yells back. A knock at the door interrupts the interview. "I'm sorry, detective. I'm just not sure I am comfortable with David being alone with you for this in my office. I really think he should have a parent or guardian with him, or perhaps even a lawyer. Call me crazy. I'm just getting bad vibes about this whole thing," Principal McMatthews says, having let himself in the doorway. He gives David a friendly nod. "You were eavesdropping, Mr. McMatthews?" the detective accuses. "No, I wasn't. It's just not that hard to decipher a grown, middle-aged man berating an 8-year-old boy. That's all, detective." The principal holds firm. The detective stands and excuses himself. "I'm going to help myself to a coffee in the staff room. Why don't you give him a try?" he says as he storms off. Principal McMatthews closes the door and takes the seat left warm by the detective. David, look, I'm sorry that you're going through all of this. Truly. But you have to realize that this type of thing rarely happens in our sleepy little town. Do you know how many times we have had children go missing in the middle of the night? Not just one child, but two? David shrugs. None, David. This has never happened before. Thank God you didn't end up the same way. Because if you had, then the town would be a whole lot sadder than we already are. And I can assure you, David, we are all very, very sad at what has happened. So you must forgive the detective. He is just doing his job, and it's a very difficult job when children go missing. So you have to think long and hard if there is anything that you and Robbie and Angelo said to one another that may have triggered this, you know what I mean. Did anything weird happen between you boys on the day of the night walk? David shrugged again. Think! God damn it! Principal McMatthews yelled. The door knocked and the detective entered the room. You were saying, McMatthews? He held a mug of warm coffee in his left hand. McMatthews stood up to allow him to reclaim his interrogation seat. I'll be in the administration office if you need me, he said. Before you go? David announced as he stood to face the men. He had grown weary of the attention. It was something he could achieve through his creations, such as Robbie and Angelo and Beth and Nadine, but he wasn't accustomed to it from real people. It was the first time he had projected his creations on others. At first, it was fun. He raised a hand to the men with his fingers outstretched, as if he were to invoke a lightning bolt into the room. There is no Robbie and Angelo. You will forget you ever knew anything about them, he said. In a trance, the two men nodded in sync. Say it, David instructed. There is no Robbie and Angelo. We will forget we ever knew them, they both said. Awake, David declared. The men blinked and looked around their surroundings. The detective stood and buttoned his jacket, as if he had just realized he left an important briefing to attend the school for such frivolous reasons. I'm needed elsewhere. I best be off, he said without giving either Principal McMatthews or David a sideways glance. McMatthews sat at his desk and began shuffling papers. David, don't you have class? He asked dismissively. I'm sick. You are giving me permission to go home, he said. McMatthews nodded. You may go home and feel better soon, son. There's a nasty bug going around, Principal McMatthews said cheerfully. David walked home alone, but summoned others to walk beside him. Nadine was one. So too were Sarah Jane and Megan Clifford. They were flesh and blood to him, but no one else. They laughed at his jokes and smiled when he engaged with them. When he allowed them, they would tell funny stories that he would often repeat to their laughs as if they hadn't been involved in their creation. David would invent his own posse and then terminate them at will. For any reason, he declared satisfactory. Then Nadine said something that made him stop in his tracks, right there on the asphalt a block away from his house. Could Robbie and Angelo join us? She asked. David was angered. He supposed he could bring them back, but he didn't want to. It was bad enough that he projected their disappearance onto the town, that all the real people believed that two real little boys went missing. Now this figment of his imagination wanted him to bring them back? I don't feel like it, he said. Okay, and that's totally fine, she said. Forget I asked. She smiled, but there was a twitch in the smile that David detected. She was not being real with him. She was not being truthful. He approached her and she took a step back. She was afraid. Would you like to join them? He asked her. A tear streaked down her cheek, and he smiled as she disappeared on the spot, vanishing just as soon as she emerged. He turned to the others, who all looked away. Then he continued his march home and allowed them to follow, for they had no choice.
For more stories of fact-based fiction, head to jimmins.substack.com.